All right, this next topic, OMG,
Oh,
OOMD.
oh.
So
What? Whoa, okay. So I'm going to have to lean on you a little bit on this one, but I have been watching what's been happening with the new Ubuntu release,
mm-hmm.
and specifically how they are trying to address an issue of apps just going poof.
Yep, poof.
Why?
So what we're talking about is systemd OOMD or OOMD.
So
what
OOMD, what is this now?
What is that thing? Well, obviously it's a systemd service, right? So it's a thing that handles situations when it looks like your system is running out of memory. It's gonna try to save you. What it does
So this is out of memory.
Out of memory.
Daemon.
Yeah, so it's a daemon, yeah.
You said it. All right. Now everybody knows. Everybody knows.
Yeah, everybody knows. Well, you could say daemon too, I suppose, but
fine, I'll let you.
So when it looks like your system is running out of memory, you're getting close, or something's causing memory pressure, it's supposed to kill off the applications so that your system doesn't lock up and freeze and you can't do anything. It keeps running to some extent. And like Leo said, it just kills off your application. Poof, gone.
Yeah. And so to kind of quickly and dirty, don't get me wrong, there's nuance here that I'm not going to be talking about, but memory pressure is not used memory or free memory, and it's not super easy to define either.
Here's how I like to think of it, Leo. I like to think of it as acceleration, not
there you
speed,
go.
Right? So, you get there really fast sometimes, and then you sort of level off, and that you're gonna really ramp up, and then you're gonna level off. Well, the system doesn't know that, right? It sees that huge spike, increase, and it sees that as a huge memory pressure.
Right. So as it's just climbing up, that graph spikes upward, and it doesn't look like it's going to trail off in time for,
because
I don't know, the entire system to be stable.
Yeah, because
that's when the chopping block comes out. That's where OOMD is coming out and is like, all right, you gotta go. You gotta go.
Yeah, you're gonna kill me. And so it looks at that and it knows, it does a little sample time. It samples on time, and it samples the increase at the same time. And so over that time, if it sees this much of an increase percentage wise, it's gonna say, that's the trigger I need to implement this.
And if the application that's causing all of that memory pressure is Firefox
or something important,
well,
yeah. So the surprise, a lot of the things that were the hardest hit were memory intensive applications like Firefox and get this one, Qt Creator. Right, so your IDE programming thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
I just want to take an aside, just real quick, and I just want to tell all these people that have 725 tabs open. Told you so.
Yeah, well, I think it's more if you had those and you had them saved and you started your browser with 725 tabs open, automatically, not just had them running, because that might not be much of the increase that it needs to see the memory pressure. But when you start the whole thing with everything loaded in the background, that might do it for you.
Listen, y'all. I'm just trim it down. Just trim it down. Bookmarks exist, okay?
They do. And so new Ubuntu 2204 main Ubuntu came with systemd OOMD enabled by default. So it turns out that wasn't necessarily a popular thing when, important applications were getting nuked, and they shouldn't have been.
Right, because Ubuntu is not the only one that has OOMD. It is specifically the way that Ubuntu tweaked OOMD for Ubuntu.
Well, since it's new, to Ubuntu, they probably, in their defense, hadn't done a ton of tweaking to it.
Sure. Of course.
There are some tunable parameters that they can adjust, which was discussed on the development mailing list, on ways to address this.
And if there's one thing I can count on you for, Dan, is watching the mailing list.
You betcha. And so I have been watching this for a while, and so there was some ideas bantered back and forth, but it looks like good news. Canonical's Nick Rosbrook has opened a pull request upstream with systemd to kind of extend systemd OOMD and the manage preference for all the C groups, not just the one that is owned by root.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, what is a C group? Well, a C group is a control group, abbreviated as C group. It's a collection of processes that are bound by the same criteria and associated within a set of parameters or limits. These groups can be hierarchical, meaning that each group inherits limits from its parent group. Obviously, different owners on different groups, and the system ones are owned by root, but user ones are owned by users. So, Firefox, for example, would be one that is owned by a user. So this pull request will allow for tuning, a preference for the application that a user is running. And obviously, since they're, a hierarchy, they can have others that'd be more important, like, I don't know, say systemd probably. You want to keep that running above all else. So that can be in a different group that is higher up than the user group. And I think this makes a lot of sense. It's a great way to tackle it. There's some other tunable things that were suggested on the original Reddit thread. But, hide the children's eyes from some of those, I guess.
They weren't so nice, huh?
Some of them not so much, but some of them were funny, made me laugh. Others were just nonsensical. So you got to apply a little salt here and there to some of the things that they've suggested.
Yeah, and they could have tempered it a bit, but I guess I can kind of see where they're coming from, because you've got Fedora, who enabled OOMD in Fedora 34. That's 2 Fedoras ago.
Right.
And I don't remember ever hearing anything about random applications, or at the very least, it wasn't this loud.
It wasn't this loud, but au contraire, there were some issues with a couple of things. So I got a couple of links here where things were not going right. Somebody didn't actually specify the applications that were bothering them, but they said they had a couple that were they looked in a log and it was getting nuked by systemd OOMD. So there's that one, and then I've got another one that's from the ZoneMinder forums, which ZoneMinder is a video camera surveillance software that captures your video camera surveillance, right? And so that was also a place where the was taking out ZoneMinder, which is your surveillance camera
that's kind
stuff.
of important, right? You kind of need your surveillance, right?
So I mean, so that it's not unheard of, at least when it first came out. And so, like you said, Fedora's got a couple of releases under their belt, so they've got a little more experience on this now, and really kind of probably know how to handle it. And in fact, on the Ubuntu mailing list, the developer mailing list, one of the Fedora developers was offering some guidance and help and letting them know that, like, yes, these are some things that we've found as well. And I think that's what's led to this pull request that Canonical has. So this is true community work, I feel like.
I was going to say, look
all
at that.
Parties involved coming together to solve something that was left some people holding some pitchforks. Not kidding.
I mean, but I guess
one guy was trying to do his economics final exam or something in Firefox, and it just like poof, there it goes, right?
No.
Yeah, so you feel bad you feel bad for people like that, but
yeah,
it is what it is. I mean, I guess it's going to happen.
And so, I mean, to kind of put a bow on this, I mean, what OOMD's job is to prevent a kernel panic as a result of running out of memory.
Right.
Right? Like, so we need this. This is something that is very important. But it's under the hood tweaking stuff that I think a lot of people don't really think about. All they see is, well, Firefox crashed and Ubuntu is trash.
They go two places. Either Firefox is trash or Ubuntu is trash. And maybe both. I don't know.
Right. But yeah. So, I mean, there's all this plumbing that goes on underneath. And I mean, it's hard work. It's hard work. So, I mean, I'm here for it. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I have not experienced it. So I can't say, well, it happens now or it happens then. I mean, there's tons of posts out on the internet that'll kind of explain that to you, right? Like when they experienced it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I've got no firsthand experience with this. I've never had an application just crash on me. And I've run on systems with 8 gigs, 16 gigs, and 32 gigs. But the memory didn't even matter, right?
Yeah, it did not. And the more RAM you had, like the amount free didn't matter.
Right. It was just that acceleration and got it. Just killed it.
Yeah, because the people that have a lot of RAM were not expecting it. Also, people.
Well, I bought 32 gigs of RAM, Dan. Yeah, I don't need anything messing with me memory-wise.
640 terabytes of RAM. I mean, it should be okay. And they were like, but I also have, 500 bajillion terabytes of swap space or something too, right? So like ultimately you think, oh, my RAM's out. I'm out of RAM. It's going to go to my swap and then I'm going to be okay. That's your fail-safe fallback thing.
But that's not really what happened.
That's not really what's happening. It's not making it there. But there's some tunables that can allow for some of those things. If you wanted to go in there and tweak some of those things yourself, or if you're real confident, you could just disable it altogether.
Woo-wee. Well, I mean, hey, if you got 1 million gigs of RAM, what do you need it for?
Honestly, where this really does shine is lower end systems, right? Those 4 and 8 gig systems. It's probably the thing that is needed for those. And that's your average
it's still kind of
desktop.
annoying though, right? Like it's still pretty annoying to be in a situation where it's like, well, Firefox crashed. Why?
It could be, but it could also save your system too. So
true.
Especially if you've only got the 4 gig. Maybe if you've got 8 gig and you've got a few other applications going on too, it could really save your day where your system didn't totally crash and you lose everything. So I think it's got its place. We just need to work on it a little bit and it'll get there where everybody's happy.
Yeah, we'll get there. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Stick around. We'll get there.